Good morning, Bob. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if my audio is all right. I didn't have much time to test everything this morning. Okay, cool. All right, we'll wait. Good morning, Tom. Give everybody another minute. Hope you guys got your coffee with you. All right, we got plenty of people on, so without further ado, let's get started. Good morning, my name is Rich Brown, co-host, co-founder of the American Warrior Society, retired Marine Corps officer, former cop, former corrections officer, former Sheriff's Department Special Operations officer, former regional manager for the Red Cross in disaster preparedness, and as well as government operations. And you are watching Coffee with Rich. And thanks to the 8 people that have joined us so far, 9 people. Like, share, comment. If you're new to Coffee with Rich, welcome. If not, looks like we got a lot of folks that have joined us before. Good morning, everyone. Like, share, comment. If you're a coin member, let me know what your coin number is and where you're from. And if you're new and you're like, Rich, every week you talk about this coin number deal, and I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Well, American Warrior Society is a group of like-minded individuals that believe in self-defense. And if you become a member of the American Warrior Society, you will get one of our beautiful coins. And on the back it says, Warriors Wanted. And they're all serialized. So if you are a coin member, there's Will Parker. He's coin number 800. That's a beautiful coin number. And if you're a coin number, let me know what your coin number is. Drinking, I got a really good cup of coffee. These guys over at my brother Jeff, we were in the Marines together, and Jeff went on to join the Coast Guard and do some pretty amazing things in maritime law enforcement. And he asked them, told them about Coffee with Rich, and they were kind enough to send me this mercenary blend. So we're having Pale Horse coffee this morning, and thanks to the guys over there at Pale Horse that hooked me up with some really cool coffee. And I gotta say, man, I cooked it up in my mocha pot this morning, and it is pretty doggone rad. Man, we got a lot of stuff to cover this morning. Once again, we're at 22 live viewers, and if we hit 50, someone will be getting the tumbler. And let's see who's on this morning. Man, we got Scott on here, coin number 1307 from Colorado. William Literal. Audio's awesome. So glad to hear that. Will Parker is on. Troy is on. Rich, Lydia, Scott, Skip. Man, good morning, everyone. Mark, Tom, Bob, Alan, my brother Jeff. Jeff, I just talked about Pale Horse coffee and the mercenary blend that you sent me. I'm really impressed, man. I gotta be honest with you. Cooked it up in the mocha pot this morning. It is awesome. Once again, we're at 26 live viewers. Like, share, comment. Let me know where you're from. I know some of you are behind the lines in Virginia, like our good friend Alan is. We hit 50 live viewers. We're up to 30 already. If we hit 50, someone will be getting the tumbler. So I'm excited to send that to you. Okay, let's talk about an article, man. Every week, Coffee with Rich, we talk to you about an article in the American Warrior Society. You need to check out. All of our articles are for free. We also talk to you about a show that you need to go back and listen to. We talk to you about some swag that you may want to take advantage of. We talk to you about a gadget. And now it seems like with all the craziness going on, we've been talking about laws, man. So let's talk about the article. And I don't see Doug on this morning. Doug is Doug Lightfoot. He's a patrol lieutenant up there in Ohio. I won't say much further than that. Canine officer, Christian, just an all-around outstanding American. One of the strongest men probably in the Eastern Seaboard. And we're very honored to have Doug as a member of the American Warrior Society. And Doug wrote an article that you need to check out. He wrote it. It's entitled Teaching Your Children Personal Safety. And he breaks it down into like 5 key components. Number 1, it's not fear-based. If you're going to teach your kids about self-defense or anything, man, I think it's a good idea not to scare the crap out of them. You can absolutely backfire on you. I have a real good friend of mine, some good family, who was taught to fear dogs. So now their children are terrified of any dog, no matter the size or the dog's intention. So that's a great thing that Doug hits out there. The next thing is make situational awareness fun. And what Doug is talking about there is, hey kids, where are the exits at in this room? Can you show them to me? Are there fire extinguishers in this room? And if so, where are they? Are there stairwells that we can escape from? Where are they? The third thing is train together, including watching videos like Coffee with the Rich or something you might find on YouTube. If there's some good lessons there, make sure that you show that to them and pick those things apart together. When it comes to training together, he's also talking about martial arts together. And lastly, find a good and competent trainer who's good with children. There are some amazing trainers out there who are really good with adults but not really good with children, and vice versa. I put my son Grant, and we lived in a small town, and all there was Taekwondo, so that's what he went to for 3 years. The guy was a phenomenal instructor with children, but I don't think I'd be wanting him teaching me anything. And the fifth thing is permission to defend themselves with force and violence if necessary. You have to give the kids permission and let them know it's okay to fight back, or else they may not, and they may hesitate. Well, we're up to 39 folks on right now. Again, like and share. Before we go on to the next thing, let's take a look here. Who's here? I don't remember my coin in civilian pants. It's 1387. Don't forget to bill me for the lifetime. Yeah, absolutely, Will. Let me write that down. Let's see. My brother Jeff Brown says he's glad that I enjoy the coffee. Yeah, man. Tell him I love it. It's rocking. Eric, good morning. Eric Carrillo as well. Eric Weeder up there in New York. Donald says good morning from occupied Virginia. Yeah, crazy up there. All right, we're up to 30. Make sure you like and share, comment. Now, let's talk about a podcast you need to check out. This is kind of a fun one Mike and I did. It was a coin number. It was show number 196, top 10. It actually ended up being almost top 30 self-defense myths. And the reason I chose this one this morning is because I think it ties in really good with a fun way to discuss some of these things with your kids. What are the myths out there about self-defense and defending yourself? One of the biggest myths, and I hate to say this, is that the police are there to be your own personal bodyguards. They're not. They would love to be. It's not that these men and women in law enforcement aren't concerned with your safety. They're very concerned with your safety. They care about you and your family deeply. I really believe that. I know that I did, and all my law enforcement friends do. However, they can't be everywhere at once. So it is your responsibility to defend you until they can get there and clean up the mess. Don't forget that. So there's lots of the myths that we talked about. We got someone here from Niagara Falls, New York. Jeff, good morning. Johnny, good morning. Coin number 79 from Delaware. So check out the show we did, show number 196, top 10 self-defense myths. Hey man, and help someone else find our show. We were, Mike and I were in Colorado attending Martial Blade Camp a few years ago. And I was shocked to learn that the gentleman sitting next to me happened to be an American Warrior Society member. And we struck up a conversation there. He was there to attend Martial Blade Camp. And I said, oh, he's like, yeah, I love the site. I said, his name was Bruce. We'll leave it at that. He's a police officer up in, I think, Michigan. I said, oh, Bruce, do you listen to the American Warrior Show? Never heard of it. So I had him get his phone out. I showed him right there on his phone how to use his podcast app, search AmericanWarriorShow.com, subscribe, and then he's been listening to it ever since. So not a lot of people know how to get access to our podcast. Sure, you can listen to it on your laptop, but put it on your phone, hit the Bluetooth app in your truck or your car, and take Mike and I along with you and our amazing guests. Let's talk about American Warrior Society swag. As you can see, I'm drinking out of our cup, and it's got the pink suspenders on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not. And that was from mine and Mike's days of bouncing at this Club 108, which made us wear pink suspenders. I don't know. It was the 90s, man. We did crazy crap like that back then. But I'm also, man, check this out. Look what came in the mail yesterday. More American Warrior Society swag. I'm giving the gift of rash guards this year. This is the second one I bought. I'm going to give that to some lucky fella. But I wore my American Warrior Society rash guard to class last night, and it performed flawlessly. And if you don't have one and you do jiu-jitsu, you need to check it out. We're up to 40 live viewers. So we got everything you need. We got shirts, we got cups, we got hoodies, we got beanies, all your cold weather kit. We got you covered, so check us out. I'm being told by Chester that we got no sound. Let me know if that's true or not. Chester, it may be something on your end. I think the sound's been working so far. Let me know if the sound is working. Mike says, show the rash guard again. I'd love to. My old friend, Mr. Mike Seeklander's on there. So here's the rash guard. And down the sleeves it says, the fight's coming, be ready. And yeah, everybody says they hear me. I'm sorry, Chester, it may be something on your end. So yeah, love this thing. I got an extra large. It fit perfectly. Very, very happy with that. All right, great. Sorry about that, Chester. You might want to check something on your end. We're up to 40 live viewers. Okay, guys. Without further ado, let's talk about this morning's gadget. Where is it? Okay, here is the TDI Last Ditch Knife. The TDI Last Ditch Knife. So this is the back side. This is the front side, if you will. This thing will run you about $18 to $20. Designed by Greg Ellifritz of Active Response. And it's almost like a little straight razor. Make sure, oh, we're at 54. Someone just won a tumbler. And again, at 57, that's awesome. Once again, designed by Greg Ellifritz. And it's designed to be a boot knife or a neck knife, something like that. The blade is made of 9CR18 black stainless steel. Blade length is 1.7 inches. Overall, it's 3.6 inches. And it fits, it's about credit card size, so you could easily stick this in your wallet. And I bought it because I've had another. We're up to 72 live viewers. That's pretty doggone cool. So thanks to everybody that's sharing. So I bought this because I had a shark bite, a TDI shark bite, along with other TDI products. And my good friend Doug Lightfoot said that these were a really good idea for self-defense. So I thought I'll give it a spin, about $18 to $20 on Amazon Prime. Let's talk about, would I recommend it? Right out of the gate, would I recommend it? Yes. Yes, I would. I would recommend this knife for a couple of reasons. Is it perfect? No, far from it. I don't like the concept of a neck knife. It just doesn't play into my self-defense plan. We're up to 86 live viewers. It's pretty cool. But it is amazing as a boot knife. And I took my Salmons off and as I was experimenting with this week, and I ran it in my right boot and I ran it in my left boot, and I really like it because as a jiu-jitsu guy and a 10th Planet jiu-jitsu guy at that, I do Gracie Baja and I do 10th Planet jiu-jitsu, and if you don't know what that is, I encourage you to Google it later. But we have some positions where having this in my boot is going to be phenomenal, like with the rubber guard. There's a position in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu called Chill Dog in New York, and what's that other crazy one? Mission Control. triangles, omoplata, gogoplata, things that put my boot in proximity to my face is a really good idea. That this is a great time to put this thing into play if I have to. If I'm on the ground, on my back, I don't care if I am winning the fight because I'm in a gogoplata or something like that where I really feel comfortable. It still would be a nice idea to have access to this. So I really like it in the boot configuration. Now, this knife is good for what it is. Last ditch. When you got nothing else. We're up to 107 viewers, pretty cool. When you have nothing else, it comes in handy. And Greg Elephants, I did some reading yesterday on why he chose this, or why he designed this knife the way he did. And he goes to South America a lot. He likes to have this in his boot if he's ever restrained, or sometimes in the small of his back on his belt line. He can cut out of his restraints with this. So that's kind of the thought being in that. It gives you a little option. It's low vis, very concealable. It actually, I put it in my wallet because again, it's about credit card size and it concealed really well. So cutting yourself out of restraints, lots of mounting options. It worked really well. I was afraid that the holes would not be big enough for my bootlaces to go through, but they worked out really fine. The thing I do not like, big con on this knife, is this. I can't get a full purchase on it. I can't get my finger in there. So when I draw the knife, I'm not all the way seated properly. Another downside is it was never intended for you to stick your finger through to draw the knife, and it doesn't work well with that. When you buy this, the TDI Last Ditch knife is the name of it. When you buy this knife, it's going to come with some paracord, 550 cord, whatever you want to call it. It comes with a small length of that, maybe 2 feet, that you can tie around your neck. I found that really humorous because, let's talk about the shark bite. I know we've talked about this before, and I've been looking for mounting options for this. Now this is the TDI. This is the TDI, Tactical Defense Institute knife. We're up to 131 live viewers. Thanks for everybody tuning in to Coffee with Rich. But Tactical Defense Institute makes this knife, designed by Greg Elephants. They also make Tactical Defense Institute's this, and this is the shark bite. This is the all plastic knife. I've talked about this knife before. One of the things I didn't like about this is it is metallic. This is a metal knife, so I could put it on my boot, but I'm going to have to take it on and take it off every time I fly. And seems like I fly on an airplane about every single month commercially, so it'd be a lot of taking on and taking off, and that presents a problem. This is all plastic, the shark bite. Now we've done this knife before. It was its own gadget, so I won't go into a whole lot, but I told you if I ever figured out the way I like to carry this, I would discuss it with you. This is the length of paracord that came with the TDI Last Ditch knife. I'm using it on the TDI shark bite because it's an all plastic knife. It's in a plastic sheath and is a plastic knife. This is a metal knife in a plastic sheath. The shark bite came with a metal chain to go around your neck. I put the metal chain with the Last Ditch knife and put the paracord with this knife. So this is all non-metallic for non-permissive carry. You want to find out more about that, go look at the other one. But I will tell you, run this around your belt loop. One of the challenges I had finding a good solution for this was as you draw the knife, it snaps in and snaps out. So by putting the anchoring point up here at the top, as you draw it out, it comes out easily. And it rides up front, and I can access it with my right hand or my left hand. So really like the things that TDI is doing, Tactical Defense Institute. Check them out. So I like the shark bite, probably is a better solution, but this guy does have its place. I'm going to Scotland and Ireland coming up in about a week and a half. Could I run this? No, I can't. I can, but I risk going to prison for a very long time because you can't have fixed blade knives over in the UK. And this, even though it's small, I don't know that it's worth me going to prison over. So 124 folks on right now. Let's check in with everybody. Skip says, don't forget it's in your wallet while in the airline security line like I did. Ooh, that's all bad. Chester says, there it is. Had to select the actual post, not the post in the video section. Okay. How do you attach the, I'm assuming you're talking about this. So here's what I've been doing right now. It's just a boot knife for me. I'll run the boot laces in through it, cross them across the front, and then back out the top and secure it off to the side so that I can get a slight purchase on the top of it. And like I said, if you're a jiu-jitsu guy like me, you know what I'm talking about. If I've got somebody in my closed guard, I've got my feet up near my face because of the way I do my high guard, and I can get access to this guy if I needed it. Or there's a whole lot of reasons. If I'm down on my knee and I'm doing medical on somebody, this might be a good way to cut them out of something. So having this as a boot knife, I think, is a pretty good idea. All right, let's see. Mark says the shark bite is awesome. Yeah, we talked about it before. Non-permissive carry. I'm not going to tell you if you should circumvent the rules of the venue that you're going to and carry a non-metallic knife so that metal detectors can't pick it up. But you may want to because you're on your own. Christopher says, good morning from Brooklyn. Good morning, sir. Honored to have you on the show. Scott says, no kidding. I hope Santa brings me one for Christmas. Good morning, Jocko from South Africa. Good morning, sir. Travis says the last stitch knife works perfectly in the side boot pockets of a 511 Attica boots. Yeah, man, cool. Glad to know that. I've been really pleased with it. I got to thinking about it. Which boot would work better? And I actually played around with this a lot yesterday, working various, like I said, Omoplata, Go-Go Plata, Mission Control, and I think putting it in the right boot is probably going to be the way to go. And we're going to leave it at that. Let's see. Shark bite is pretty sweet. Yeah, it is, man. Gerald D's, good morning, Gerald. Coin number 952. Good morning from Tucson. Listen and join my McDonald's coffee. Well, glad to have it. This morning we're having a Mercenary blend by Pale Horse. PaleHorseCoffee.com was kind enough to send me over that. My brother Jeff Brown helped facilitate that. You can check them out at PaleHorseCoffee.com. Veteran-owned coffee company, and I'm all about supporting them, and I'm drinking their Mercenary blend. Johnny says, we need you here, Rich, not in prison. Man, I hear you, Johnny. I agree with you. And that's why I'm not going to be taking this with me to Ireland and Scotland. I've got a UK legal knife. You've probably seen it on here before. Maybe we can talk about that next Friday. Maybe we'll talk about my UK kit again. I know we've done a show on it before. Maybe next Friday I'll talk about it, because if it's legal in the UK, man, it's legal pretty much anywhere. Ted, good morning, sir. Coin number 1461. Happy to be here. Okay, so we've talked about our gadget, the last ditch knife. Let's talk about laws, man. That's kind of become something we've been talking about a lot lately. And this week, today's a pretty special day. You know why? Because today is the last day that law-abiding citizens in the country of New Zealand have to turn in their firearms. The firearms that New Zealand has deemed to be assault weapons, or I don't even know what the verbiage is that they're using over there. It's not important, but today is the deadline, man, December the 20th. And if you don't turn them in today, New Zealanders, guess what? You are going to be facing 5 years in prison and thousands of dollars in fines. Why did New Zealand do this? Because they had that deadly mosque shooting, I think, back in March. Some crazy a-hole decided to go kill a bunch of people as they worshipped, in their own mosque, minding their own business. He went in and slaughtered them, which is absolute tragedy. And, I think New Zealand overreacted. And they outlawed basically about 175,000 firearms across the country of New Zealand. And when you think of New Zealand, let me give you some context. New Zealand is about the size of Colorado, as well as the same population size as Colorado. And there's 175,000 of these assault weapons that they've decided to make people turn in. Now they're buying them back, and they've spent tens of millions of dollars buying back about 25%. The data that I could find yesterday seemed to illustrate, now this is off the New Zealand websites, that about 47,000 of these assault weapons had been turned in thus far. So that means about 75% of the assault weapons, whatever that word means, I don't know, are still out there. New Zealanders have not complied. Now, here's another little scary thing for those of you guys in Virginia and California and anybody that's considering common sense gun legislation. The first list that New Zealand put out and said, these are only the weapons that we're worried about, these scary assault weapons, this is all we want. And it passed. I think there was only one vote that voted not to pass it. It was an overwhelmingly successful bill to ban all these weapons. When the list came out, as time started ticking by, guess what? They changed the list. They started adding more weapons onto the list. And that's exactly the way it happens, folks. I hate to tell you. But once the list started going, it did not stop. They started adding more stuff. And, oh, by the way, guess what? Here's another little insult to injury. As the gun owners that did decide, the 25% of New Zealand gun owners that did decide to comply, went down there and turned their firearms in and accepted cash from the New Zealand government. The New Zealand government kept a list of who turned in what. They leaked that list. You can't make this stuff up, folks. So all of their personal identifiable information, where they live, who they are, what they turned in, is available to all the criminals online. So now criminals in New Zealand know who had what, and now that they're completely unarmed, guess where they can go? Like I said, you can't make this stuff up, folks. So before I go on and talk to you some more about the laws, let's see who's here. Rasmus, talking about these knives, they're only one configuration, these last-ditch knives. So it depends on how you configure it on your belt and your boot. If you're right-handed or left-handed, you just have to play with it. About $18 to $20 on Amazon, and you can pick one of these up. Skip says, I've read that not many guns have been given up in New Zealand. No, like I said, about 25% have been turned in so far. Paul is joining us. Good morning, Paul. Major policy change based on emotions tend to not be the best decisions made. Mark, you are spot on. Never make an emotional decision. Those tend to be the incorrect ones. So, like I said, today, the New Zealand gun owners that have not turned in their firearms, and we're talking about 75% of the owners out there, are now lawbreakers, and they will probably be hunted down. And I saw one report, one of the New Zealand lawmakers said that they will, the full force of the law is coming. So let's all keep our eyes on those and our prayers for those folks in New Zealand. Speaking of laws, man, right here in the United States, close to home, Democratic governor of New Jersey just restored the voting rights of about 80,000 felons. 80,000 felons. Not to be outdone, a couple of years ago, Kentucky, the governor of Kentucky, restored voting rights to about 140,000 felons. Recently in Virginia, Governor Northam, our pal there, who thought it would be cute to wear blackface and is obviously a racist. I'll say my other comments. He restored the voting rights to about 22,000 people. And in 2016, the other governor of Virginia, another Democrat, voted to restore the voting rights of about 200,000 convicted felons. Convicted felons that are now voting. And guess how they're going to vote? So again, I find this pretty doggone disturbing, this trend. These folks knew what the laws were. They decided to break the law. They knew they would lose their right to vote. This is why we're giving them their ability to vote again. Couldn't tell you. Now again, this is a self-defense show. I get it. But when you start restoring rights to felons, you may give them the ability to someday possess firearms. And speaking of possessing firearms, we talk about common sense gun legislation. Here's a little piece of legislation that I don't know why we don't have, and that is If a felon attempts to buy a firearm, currently I don't believe there's a single mechanism to alert local authorities that a felon just tried to buy a firearm. Now, if they've been running NCIC correctly, it will alert and they will be able to buy a gun legally. But there's no mechanism to say, oh, by the way, Tommy Dirtbag is just trying to buy a gun. You need to go pick him up because there's a felon trying to buy firearms. So there's some things like this. We just found out that the Sulphur Springs church shooter, the guy that went into a church and killed 26 people in their place of worship, had a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force. He had crushed his son's skull, beat his wife up. They gave him a year in prison, the Air Force did, and then they forgot to run those domestic assaults so that they didn't run it in NCIC like they should have, and this guy was allowed to go out and buy a firearm that he used to kill a bunch of people. So we have the gun laws. They're there. We just need to use them correctly. So let's see who's on here real quick. I think that's about all I got for you. And then we'll kind of recap real quick. Christopher says, I hope they have other weapons they can protect themselves with. Yeah, likewise, Chris. Like I said, let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Paul says, good morning. Mark says, our pal, and I assume Mark is talking about the governor up there in Virginia. Kyle Brown, good morning, sir. New York is letting felons out of jail and giving aliens a license, man. It's craziness. We already have these things, and you're disenfranchising the people that have played by the rules, done the right thing, and oh, by the way, then you're re-enfranchising those that have not played by the rules. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So, let's see here. I forgot I had, yesterday I said if you had some questions for Coffee with Rich, I posed this in our closed group. And let's see if they had anything. And then I'll kind of do that real quick. I know that I've kept you guys on here for about 33 minutes. And I want to be very respectful of your time. Let's see. Let's see, what kind of questions are on the table? Whatever you want. Let's see, this one here from Jason. Jason says, I'm an IDPA guy who is going to shoot his first USPSA match in 2020. I like IDPA because I shoot my carry gun and I intend to shoot. And these are questions from our coin members. I haven't looked at them before, so we'll see what we got here. If you could still stay on with me while we sip our coffee, that's cool. If you got to run to work, I get it. But Jason says, I'm an IDPA guy who's going to shoot his first USPSA match in 2020. I like IDPA because I shoot my carry gun and I intend to shoot it in USPSA 2 with the understanding that it will be a major disadvantage, but I'm hoping that sport will give me more opportunity and encouragement to work on my moving skills and shooting cadence. Am I stupid for thinking that? No, you're not stupid for thinking that. I think USPSA and IDPA are both phenomenal competition venues. They both have their strengths and weaknesses, which I won't really go into here. I'm really not really qualified to go into here. But I will tell you that if you're not a competition shooter and you have a concealed carry permit, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that, as would my good friend and world champion IDPA shooter, Mr. Mike Seeklander, who's on with us this morning. So, no, it will absolutely help you. One of the things with USPSA that I like relative to IDPA is you have to plan your own stage. In IDPA, they kind of force feed you. You will start here, you will go there, you will pie around this piece of cover, and you will shoot da-da-da. USPSA, not necessarily like that, man. You're going to get the freedom to move however you want to best engage those targets, and I really like that about USPSA. So I think they both have their place. And then Jason says, not competition related, I heard Space Force is going to be the 6th branch of the military with a Marine Corps boot camp on the verge of going co-ed, supposedly maybe with Space Force boot camp being the same. Do you think, how long before it's basically the Starship Troopers? It's crazy. For those of you that are new, we got 62 people still with us. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I'm a retired Marine officer, and I remember my colonel came to me and said, this is during the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and he said, hey, Rich, the general has to give some talking points to Congress. We're going to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We're going to allow gays to serve openly in the U.S. military. Can you think through this intellectual problem and give me some talking points to give the general? So I was honored at that task, and I literally sequestered myself in a conference room alone with a legal pad for a couple of days and a laptop, and I just kind of did some research and gave my thoughts and some of the talking points that I gave to my colonel, who gave to General Reynolds, ended up being something that she spoke on. So I think there's much ado about nothing. It seems that gays, when they were allowed to serve openly, it wasn't an issue. And I don't know that there'll ever be those shower scenes like on Starship Troopers where men and women are showering together, but it wouldn't surprise me. If you would have told me that amphibious warships would have females on them, I would have laughed in your face, and yet it wasn't long before that came to pass. And again, are there isolated incidents of men and women doing inappropriate things with each other? Of course, men and women are always going to do that. It's a biological imperative. And they're handled as disciplinary problems, and some careers are ruined, but you know the rules, folks. Razmik, let's see what he says. Okay, not really a question, comment. Jason says, also being a veteran and a former LEO and geographically near Virginia, I would think you'd have a few opinions about some of the sociological implications of politically inspired conflict in those parts. You know what, Jason, it's we've talked about that quite a bit, and I'll tell you, it's pretty crazy what's going on in Virginia right now. You know, we've talked about it almost every single week. There's some really amazing folks out there that I highly respect that feel that this is a tempest in a tempest in a teacup. I don't think so. I think passions are pretty well riled up, just as they were when when President Buchanan was about to leave office. And we need the Supreme Court to really come down on this one and let us know their thoughts and feelings regarding the Second Amendment as the states continue to try to whittle away at those rights. To me, their other Supreme Court has been pretty doggone clear on it thus far, and we need their thoughts on it before Virginia decides to do something stupid and push conflict there. Brian says comments about the situation in Virginia. All I can say is keep your eyes on it. If you're Virginia, make sure you get out there and vote and let your voice be heard. Also, possibly discussion on how winter clothing situations, etc., may alter your methods, training, draw, etc. Man, that's a good one. If you are wearing gloves because you live in a cold area this winter, you need to try, and you're a concealed carry holder, you need to try to shoot with the gloves on, or at least dry fire with the gloves on. It presents a lot of different problems. If you're wearing a hoodie in the winter, how do you get that gun out? And during my Wednesday range session this week, that's what I was doing. I was wearing a hoodie and drawing and shooting with the hoodie on. So they will present problems that you're definitely not used to, just like summertime is when you're wearing shorts and stuff like that. And that's a great point, Brian, and you definitely need to pay attention to that. Let's see. Robert Gayhart said, end of the year coffee conversation. Maybe next week we'll talk about what each of us American Warrior Society members have done this year in order to grow and improve and become better warriors, husbands, fathers, wives, daughters, sons, and American Warrior Society ambassadors. And I think he's got a great point here, and we'll talk about that a little bit next week. And Chris says, tips for raising baby girls. I'm blessed to have two daughters, and they are both amazing people. And I will tell you that you got to let them do their thing. I took my first daughter, bless her heart. She was our firstborn. I was a young Marine infantryman, and I really tried to force the warrior lifestyle on Caroline and had her doing arm bars when she could barely stand up. And I don't think it worked out really well. So let them find their own path and do their own thing is probably the best option. Because if you push them into it too early, sometimes it can backfire. And I think I was probably overly aggressive on wanting her to be, a young warfighter, a young self-defender. And I probably blew that up a little bit. So don't make my mistake, folks. Let's see who we got here. Eric says time to head out to work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. Mark says DOD correctional facilities were grilled because of that guy in the Air Force whose paperwork was not properly ran. I'm sure they were, man. That was a terrible screw up, and I hope the other branches of service really have that squared away. Alan says, stay alert, everyone. If you think that it can't happen in your state like it is in Virginia, then you are sadly mistaken. Get active, get involved, and keep your head up. And if you look at the map of Virginia, my Scots-Irish brothers and sisters who settled the Shenandoah Valley, they have all decided to enact sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuary status. Now, what does that provision really mean legally? I don't know, probably not much. All they're doing is saying we ratify and recognize the Second Amendment and will not allow anything to be infringed upon that. But again, that's kind of the way the law is already written, and it is the law of the land. So it's going to be interesting to see what Governor Northam and his cronies do to you guys up there in Virginia, and all we can do is sit here and watch, pray, and support you in any way possible. Mark says you are not alone for making that mistake, Rich. Yeah, as far as being pretty overly aggressive training our little girls, man, you got to let them be little girls, and there'll be a time and a place that they'll come to you for that kind of stuff, or you can ease them into it like Doug Lightfoot, who wrote the article for us, teaching your children personal safety. He's absolutely right. Don't make it fear-based. Make situational awareness fun. Some of the things I probably didn't do, and train together. So again, let's kind of recap real quick. 64 people still on with me. I thank you guys and gals for being on here. The coffee we had this morning, Pale Horse Coffee, thanks to those guys over there and gals, those veterans that sent me their mercenary blend, really enjoying that. We talked about the article by Lieutenant Doug Lightfoot. You need to check that out. All of our articles are for free. AmericanWarriorSociety.com. Find out more. The podcast was podcast 196, top 10. Actually, it was more like top 20 or 30 self-defense myths. Swag, man, got to get out there and get some of that American Warrior Society swag. I'm drinking out of my cup. I've got my shirt. This is the classic American Warrior Society classic. You can check that out at AmericanWarriorSociety.com. Check out our store. We got all the winter weather stuff you need. We talked about our gadget. This morning the gadget was, and I'll show you one more time, the TDI last ditch knife. About 18 to 20 bucks on Amazon. Put one of these in your boots if you're inclined to do so, and it might keep you safer. We talked about the training vault, man. Edge weapons. If you're interested in how to use an edge weapon, check out AmericanWarriorSociety.com. Get inside the training vault. We got Michael Janich, who the creator of Counterblade Concepts and Martial Blade Concepts. He does all of our edge weapon stuff inside, behind the paywall. But don't worry, you don't have to pay anything. It's less than $1 a day, but your first 14 days are on Mike and I. It doesn't cost you anything. So check that out. And I'm going to let you guys go, man. Be safe this weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. Get out there with your family and do something. And if you got anything for me, you can always send anything you have for me. Questions, comments, Rich at AmericanWarriorSociety.com. And until then, remember, the fight is coming. Be ready.